Part 4, you will hear a university lecture on landscapes shaped by moving air and loose sediment. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good morning. Today we are looking at wind-shaped landscapes, also known in geomorphology as Aeolian landscapes. I will cover the conditions that allow wind to work effectively, the main processes of erosion and transport, the landforms and deposits created, and finally some methods used to reduce damaging wind erosion. First, the conditions. Wind can shape landscapes in many environments, including beaches and dry lake beds, but it is most effective where rainfall is limited. Low rainfall means that surface sediment remains dry and easier to move. A second condition is sparse vegetation. Plants slow the wind at ground level and bind particles with roots, so sparse vegetation leaves sand and silt exposed. The key point is not simply that the wind is strong. It is that dry, loose material is available for the wind to pick up and move. Where the surface is damp or protected by plant cover, the same wind may produce much less erosion. Turning now to erosion. The removal of loose surface particles by wind is called deflation. Deflation can lower the surface gradually and leave behind a layer of stones, sometimes called desert pavement, because the finer grains have been blown away. Another process is abrasion. In abrasion, wind-driven sand grains strike exposed rock and wear it down. This does not usually act high above the ground because most sand travels close to the surface. Small stones shaped and polished by wind abrasion are called ventifacts. Some have flat faces where sand has struck them repeatedly from a dominant direction. Larger streamlined ridges, known as yardangs, may also form where wind erosion acts for long periods on relatively soft rock or sediment. These features help geologists interpret prevailing wind directions in dry landscapes. Now, transport. Sand-sized particles commonly move by saltation, which means a bouncing motion. A grain is lifted briefly, falls back, and knocks other grains into the air. Larger grains may move by creep, rolling or sliding along the surface after being hit by saltating grains. Very fine dust can remain in suspension and travel much further, sometimes across continents, before it settles. This is why dust storms can affect air quality far from the source region, even though the heaviest sand grains remain close to the ground. Deposition occurs when the wind loses speed. If sand grains can no longer be carried, they accumulate. Dunes form where there is enough sand, and an obstacle or change in airflow causes deposition. A dune may migrate downwind as grains move up the gentle windward slope and then fall down the steeper slip face. Not all wind deposits are sandy, however. Thick deposits of wind-blown silt are known as low S. Low S can produce fertile soils, but it is also easily eroded if vegetation is removed. That combination makes it valuable for agriculture and vulnerable to mismanagement. Once the protective cover is lost, fine silt can be lifted quickly by strong winds. Finally, management. Wind erosion matters because it removes topsoil, reduces visibility, and can damage crops or infrastructure. One approach is to keep the surface covered with vegetation or crop residue. Another is to install fences, which slow the wind and trap moving sand. These measures do not stop wind, but they reduce its force at ground level and make sediment less mobile. On coasts, similar principles are used to protect dunes that act as natural barriers against storms. To summarize, Aeolian landscapes develop where rainfall is limited, vegetation is sparse, and fine sediment is available. Wind erodes by deflation and abrasion, transports grains by saltation, creep and suspension, and creates deposits such as dunes and low S. Understanding these processes helps scientists manage fragile dryland and coastal environments.
That is the end of part 4. You now have some time to check your answers.